right, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the very first Mazévo Connect of 2024. My name's Brian Peck. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Mazévo, and it's great to see everybody on the call today. We had a lot of registrations this month for Mazévo Connect, so really good way to start the year. We're super excited about today's presenter. Before we start, if you have never been to a Mazévo Connect before, these are webinars that we do every single month. And the typical format is going to be where we have a presentation and then typically there's a Q&A at the end of that. We've got everybody muted right now, but we do encourage this to be as interactive as possible. So as the presentation's going on, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to put them in the chat and I will queue up any questions for our presenter that way. Also, too, if you prefer and you just want to unmute yourself once we get to the Q&A section and want to do it that way, absolutely fine. So whatever works for you better there. As far as announcements go, we just had our yearly Mazévo kickoff, I guess you could say, just kind of an internal company meeting where we look at how we did last year and what we have coming up for this year and initiatives and things like that. And one of the things we're excited about is just the continuing momentum of Mazévo. You know, when we started Mazévo back in 2019, we were kind of like, well, is this going to be something that people really want and really need? And it definitely seems like people do. We onboarded about 50 new customers last year, and many of you were on this call today, were some of those. So that's been great. We definitely enjoyed that, and it feels like we're gonna, we're on track to do something similar again this year. So that's really good. And we are a small team here, and that's on purpose. We like being a small company, and we feel like there are some things smaller companies can do than your big massive organizations that are out there. And one of those things is the personal touch and getting to know each and every one of you as we, get to know you through the sales process and then onboarding and things like that. So that's been great. So anyways, let's see what else. Claire and I just got back yesterday from a in-person meeting here of collegiate conference and event directors here in Denver. It was great to connect with people face to face. The face-to-face meetings are always really, really good. In fact, we're doing two conferences in March here coming up. One is in Providence, Rhode Island for collegiate conference and event directors, and then we're doing ACUI, which is coming here to Denver at the end of March. And so if anybody's a member of those organizations and are going to those, please stop by and see us. We would love to meet you in person. So anyways, those were all the announcements I had today. I do want to introduce the other Mazévo team members that I have with me on the call here. So I'll start with Wendy Newland, who's one of our Mazévo trainers. Many of you know Wendy from working with her. And then Joe Finley as well, another one of our Mazévo trainers. And then I've got Claire DeGroat, who helps me on the sales side here, and then our CEO, Dean Evans. So that's who we have here on the Mazévo side. And now I want to introduce today's presenter. So today I have Debra Martin from the University of Wisconsin River Falls. I've known Deb for quite a while now, from back in the day when she used to come out to Colorado for the EMS conferences. And so it's great. They switched over from EMS a little while ago. She's going to tell you about that today and how they have implemented Mazévo across their campus. And so it should be a really, really good presentation here. So please help me with a silent, warm round of applause for Debra Martin, and I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Deb.
Thanks, Brian. Can you see my screen all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Looks good.
So welcome, everyone. I see that there's some of my friends from Wisconsin that are on the call. There's also some friends that have been on some of the Mazévo Connects and also done presentations like this. So the reason that I'm doing the presentation today is because when we made the transition from EMS to Mazévo, these connects were extremely helpful. Even if they were a topic that I didn't think that I would find much interest in, sometimes just watching how somebody else implemented the software was really, really helpful in the implementation process. And when you get your recording of the session as a business analyst and an implementer for the software, I cheated by looking at some of the screenshots and was able to use some of that. So that's what I'm hoping in the presentation today, is that I can maybe show you a couple of more challenging type of reservations that we've processed, and that you might be able to use some of the things that I'm showing you as you implement, or maybe you've been on the system for a long time and it's maybe something done a little different way than you would normally see it. Here at River Falls, I work in the University Center, and the main people that are in reservations are Stephanie Ship. And Stephanie, I know you're on the call today, so if I make any mistakes, you can jump in and correct me on that, okay? And then Kristen Barstad, she's our conference and event services coordinator. So I'll just go to the next slide here. So a little bit about River Falls. We have a main campus. We do all of our scheduling on Mazévo. We also have 2 campus farms that are basically located outside of town. We have a Falcon Center. This is the picture of our Falcon Center. It's basically 5 very large buildings that are all connected. There's also a large outdoor complex. So we have about 380 spaces that we reserve in Mazévo. We also import our classes from the student information system into Mazévo. And so we're not using the optimizer software that is part of Mazévo, the registrar's office could actually use for space scheduling for the academic part of it. But what they do is they have the space schedule in the student information system. And then we just use the Mazévo API to bring that in so that it shows in the Mazévo interface. We do use the single sign-on. So basically what that means is we give everybody that has a Falcon ID number, so it's basically our Emplit or our student ID number, anybody that has one has access to Mazévo. And it's automatic that they're given a default access to make web request reservations in many of the spaces. So in Mazévo, there's many different layers to the security settings. So we just went ahead and went with a full SSO because it made it so that I didn't have to, in EMS, I had to manage everybody that wanted an account. And then I had to try to determine what kind of an account that they needed in EMS. And so in Mazévo, it saved a lot of time just by going to that single sign-on for everybody. We do use web requests. And then I also have what we call power users on campus. And so those are people that basically we have them as web requesters for certain spaces. But let's say that they're a academic lab manager, and that lab manager wants to have more control over the space and schedule it without having to do the request mode. They want to actually make a reservation. So I call that my special access group. This gives you just a little bit of an idea as far as how many reservations we usually process. This might look really big considering that we're relatively a small campus. So you got to just remember that those are the academic bookings that are also in that number. Our university center is where the majority of all of our special events would happen, our recognized student organizations. We have about 50 students that work for us in this building between our custodial, our production crews, our campus reservations, student employees, our information desk peeps. So there's a very large component of the student employment piece of it. And a lot of those students do have access in Mazévo, and they have different reports that they're looking at, or different interfaces that they're looking at either on the phone when they're doing setups, or they're making reservations at the reservations desk. in the software itself on a laptop. So there's many different modes that those students are looking at that. Our custodial team also is looking at some special access reports too. So as Brian mentioned, we've been in EMS. We were in EMS for a long time. And during the implementation process, we purchased Mazévo in February, and then we went live in July. We took the time between our purchase and implementation to really do some mop up in EMS, because after you're on a software system that long, there's a lot of things that aren't used anymore, processes, spaces, resources. So we did a lot of mop up there. One of the questions that I know any of us that get together for campus reservations, we talk a lot about training. The impacts to training when we went from EMS to Mazévo was pretty graphic, because our campus reservation students, they're kind of what Stephanie Ship, she spends a lot of time with those students just in the very beginning, kind of giving them the higher level of how to manage the spaces and that sort of thing. But really comes from our web requesters. So basically every recognized student organization, every faculty member, every program associate, everybody, they pretty much come into the system and use it, and we don't do anything for training. Are just able to log into Mazévo the first time, they get their default setting and they make a request in a matter of seconds. And it's really been quite amazing. We had intended to do a lot more training and put a lot of more resources into training our faculty, staff, and students, but we just never had the time. And then we found out we really didn't need to do it anyway. So we're pretty happy about that particular piece of it, because we did spend a lot of time just trying to train people on how to use the scheduling software in the past. Our event planners, those are kind of those power users I was mentioning. Stephanie does spend some time if a power user is, because we have a lot more turnover in our professional staff these days, the power users, they do get a little bit more help from Stephanie on occasion, but it's very, very rare that somebody even needs that, even though they're a power user. Some of our best practices when it came to implementation, that 4-month period of time, we actually did what we called the Mazévo war rooms. And the group of us that were kind of, from the Falcon Center, looking at special spaces like our campus farms, all of those people that were really in the driver's seat for scheduling those spaces, we got together and kind of talked through data that we found on the Campus Connects like this. We talked about how people were doing different things and looked at what our cleanup should be in EMS. And then we quit doing the war rooms once we kind of got up and running. But now we've transitioned to what we call our monthly best practices. And so we still get some of those power users together. And so Stephanie and Kristen Barstad, and then the production team members, they'll actually get together and talk about the new changes that Mazévo is making to make the software even better. Okay, I'm going to actually jump out of this and into you can see my Mazévo login from here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to actually start off by taking a look at a reservation. And I do have the reservation number, so I could look it up if I wanted to. But I want you to actually see what it's like to go and try to find something. So I'm actually looking for this reservation here. I know that it happened on the 20th of January. And so this is a reservation that we've had a number of different types of setups. So this was about 1,100 people that were here for a special event. You'll notice that we have academic spaces are listed in here. We have our university center. We have just everything is in the one reservation. What's fun about Mazévo is that it's really nice to be nice and clean. The interface has got lots of information. We take a look at how we price things, might be different than what you're doing, but we price things out based on both a room and then also the services that go in that room. This is one of the features we kind of like in Mazévo is we love the agenda. And so sometimes this agenda is used for those student employees that are at the front desk, and they have customers that come to the information desk and say, I'm here for the science Olympiad and I don't know where to go. So a lot of times we can use the agenda to try to help people find where they're supposed to be going. We also have a number of different automated messages that are basically attached to different resources. So you can do that. So we kind of like that. We also have been dabbling, not doing as good a job as we would like to be, but that's one of the things we talk about in the best practices meetings that we get together. Is this is an example of when an event planner, somebody who's managing this event, needs to ask a question of our production services manager. And there's another example of these two-way information from both the customer and the event planner. So the messaging system that's in Mazévo is really kind of cool, and we're looking forward to actually using it even more. I don't know anybody that's coming from EMS to Mazévo. You might have user-defined questions in EMS. Well, they're now called event questions in Mazévo. The only one that we're currently using is this special question that will minors less than 18 years of age be attending this event? We're required to ask that question on all of our bookings. And so when a web requester, so remember when I said that every student organization and every faculty staff member could make a request, when they fill out that request form, it forces them to answer this question. Okay. If you're a power user, so basically if you're like Stephanie or Kristen or somebody that's really hammering away at reservations all the time, they will actually have to remember to go into this event question and add that in there because they're entering in a different format. They're not in request mode, they're in reservation mode. So it's just something that we had to kind of get used to. We also keep a lot of our diagrams here. We upload them on so that the production team kind of knows what the diagrams are that they're supposed to be using for the reservation. Now I want to show a different reservation, but I can't remember when it was, but I know that it's a reservation that we might have done by contact. And because my bar is in the way here, try and get this to work. This then brings up all the reservations, and I could continue to sort too, but basically I want to look at this thing. So one of the things I love about Mazévo is that it can give you like 2 or 3 different ways to do things, and it depends upon what you're doing. You can also, it keeps track of all kinds of stuff that you've been working on. Okay, so this is an opening meeting reservation. And you'll notice just a few things. There's different types of events in here. So we have event types. Not everybody has to use event types in EMS, or excuse me, in a Mazévo, because in EMS you had to use event types. It wouldn't let you make the reservation without it. At least that's how we had it set up on our system. But in Mazévo, you can choose to use that or not. But because we connect our auto door locks with our event types and our statuses, kind of using those two as our filters for if the door unlocks and locks for different spaces, we have to have our event types in here. So When it comes to catering, I'm actually going to bounce out here and actually look at my resources list. And I'm going to show you what we do for our catering, because I think there's some people on here that are interested in catering. So we are a contracted service. So our food service is contracted, of course, with an outside company. And we have one of those quirky things called, it's kind of a firewall issue that we're having. And even though that our contracted food service people do have Falcon ID numbers, they're a special type of Falcon ID number, and they won't let us actually give our food service contractor access to Mazévo. So we have to do a few workarounds associated with that. But that is not a Mazévo problem. That's basically our problem from an IT standpoint. So one of the things we love about Mazévo is we have this particular resource called Potential Food and Beverage. And what we do is if Reservations catches wind that somebody might be doing something with food, then we put that potential on there. And that actually does show up. Basically, it goes out to our find events. We have a special report that we've saved for that. Oops, sorry, I lied. It's actually here. So in our reports features, we use this report that gets sent to all of our our contracted food service vendor. And they use this report then to see those potential food access. So they can always reach out direct to the customer then to see that. So we do have some equipment that catering and all of our food service people can use. But for the most part, it's both the combination of the actual equipment and then also kind of almost use as short, already canned messages that we use on the reservation to try to communicate what's happening with that particular reservation. All right. So there's only one other thing. I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to try and hurry up. There's one other thing I wanted to show you, and it has to do with statuses. So these blue bookings are what comes over automatically. Helps if I use my mouse. These are what come over automatically from our SIS. So these were imported, and I can show you what the terms look like. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. All right, maybe not. That would be what the terms are. It just takes a long time. So these particular color bookings are ones that are actually entered either by the person who we've given special access. So one of our power users is this Marty Donnelly. She has a special particular type of access level, and she's able to basically make reservations in a confirmed status for special things that are happening in spaces that we've outlined for her. One of the things we love about Mazévo is that they have these cute little icons that sit out here to tell us who is the controlling person that needs to be contacted in case that we get a request in campus reservations and we don't know if it's going to be approved for that space, because a lot of our lab space schedulers, they get pretty persnickety when it comes to other people using their space. And I don't blame them, because a lot of times it's like, you know, a lot of like biology stuff in those spaces. So how am I doing in time, Brian? Do I have to shut up yet?
You're doing great. No, you've got plenty of time. Yeah.
All right. Well, now I want to talk about things that are near and dear to my heart. And that's the Mazévo special integrations that we've been using. So everybody that's on this call from Mazévo knows a lot more about this than I do. But one of the presentations, Campus Connect, that you had a few months ago was all the special vendors and the special connectors that you're using, both in HVAC, and you had a door locking software system that you were integrating with, and you had a number of different other integrations that you partner with. So anybody wants to know about that, you can contact the folks at Mazévo, because I don't know anything about it. But I will tell you what we're doing. So again, we're using the API. It's very, very user friendly. Our IT department didn't have really any trouble, kind of getting it figured out. So basically the pull that comes from our student information system into academic spaces is one of them. The other one we use is we have a software system that we track all of our recognized student organizations. It's the Anthology Engage software. I think there's a number of Wisconsin schools that are using Anthology Engage as well. So we automatically upload the president, vice president, treasurer, and advisor that's listed in Anthology Engage, gets automatically uploaded to our Mazévo contact person list. So basically, we don't have to try to figure out who's a recognized student organization that's legal to be on the system and who's not. And that's been pretty handy. If you have more questions about that, Stephanie Ship would be the person to contact about that to see how it actually works in real day-to-day, because I don't work with that anymore. I just make sure the software works. Then there's the auto door locking and unlocking. And we even have resources that we're also connected to that. So we can do like heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, pre-cooling. If you've got a room like the ballroom and you're going to be packing it with 500 people in it, when it's kind of nice to be able to turn the air conditioning on in the summertime, or to get it to the right temperature before the people get there. We have other systems too. We have security that's set up on our third floor. It's where all the meeting room spaces are. And so our elevator and our stairwell access is also used their door locking system for that. A lot of our academic buildings are also starting to be incorporated into that auto door locking process. So we have some buildings now that have the mechanisms in place, and they're using this class schedule to determine whether or not those doors need to be opened or not. And so that's kind of cool to see that. Our Falcon Center, which is that huge complex we were talking about earlier, our Falcon Center uses the auto door locking even more, because they even go by the time of day, whether or not an ID card will work on that door. So the door is locked all the time. But then there's these certain time periods during the day, if like it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they know that a team is coming back from a game someplace and they need to access that door because it's a huge facility. And so they make it so that the door lock the ID card only works when it's scheduled in Mazévo to indicate that. And then my favorite thing is fake rooms. So let's see if I can bring that up without crashing anything else. I think I did. So what we did in Mazévo is we created a bunch of fake rooms, and we actually entered the schedule of when those business hours of operation are open, and then it automatically feeds to this website. And this website actually gets used, probably one of the biggest hit websites on our whole campus, because people are always wondering if something is open or not. So I absolutely love the ability to have those fake rooms and be able to use that as a tool. They do the same thing actually with open recreation. And so they have a calendar for all of our recreation spaces, and they're using the fake room kind of in the same manner. They're pulling an open rec booking that shows when people can come in and use the recreation center. All right. And for any of the really big computer geeks out there, I wanted to include this website that I just went to so that you can see it if you want to look at it yourself. And then this is actually like the script that we're using from our door locking system, just for anybody that wanted to see how we were doing that. All right. Is there a drum roll? Ha, 33 minutes, hot dog.
Yeah,
Any
right on
questions,
time.
comments, or things that we're doing wrong that you think we should be doing differently? I'm all ears.
Yeah. Well, there is one question that came up here. It's Heather's wanting to know if the APIs would work with campus groups. Now, I know that campus groups is a system that is similar, I think, to Anthology Engage that you all use there. So our API is designed to be generic, so it should work with similar type of systems. It just takes a little bit of work from your technical staff to get it hooked up to such systems, but should be possible because the underlying basic premise of what you're trying to do, which is bring over student organizations and their officers, is the same no matter what system you're hooking up to. So that should be pretty straightforward there from that standpoint. Um, so um, Here's a question for you, Deb. Do the fake rooms go against your room total in the system? So
Yes.
yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
We
So
built that in when we bought it
yeah,
because we knew we wanted to keep them because we had them in EMS and we wanted to keep them. So
yeah,
yes, they do count.
yeah, yeah. So something
And they're
that
worth every penny, let me tell ya.
yeah. So if you're curious about that, just reach out to us and we'll let you know what it would take to add those in there. So, but and Deb and I were talking a little bit ahead of time. And Deb, I know you had a question yourself for the audience around your power users, and you were curious if people ever get together on campus, the power users and maybe the service providers and those types of folks to kind of work out any issues that have come up along the way. I don't know if you want to elaborate with that, Deb, but
Yeah, no, I'd just be really interested. If you do have like a scheduling consortium or something that other people on your campus that have either large events or you give them access to spaces and they want to do something different. Opening up lines of communication, I think all of us uh, struggle with that, and we live in our own little bubble and we think everything is great and we're working along like crazy, and then all of a sudden, as you might be watching somebody else. I did that just the other day. Stephanie was working on something. I was like, I never used that feature of Mazévo. I didn't even know that worked that way. And so I just was curious if anybody's willing to pipe up if you do that kind of thing. Do you get together with other schedulers on your campus?
yeah, I can tell you anecdotally, I'm pretty sure that happens, but I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that's doing that because it is a great idea. You have to keep that communication going, especially with things as dynamic as events, which are always changing and things are always happening there. So
I just wanted to kind of raise my hand here.
yeah.
Elise Butler, I'm from Bucknell University. We are currently looking at Mazévo. We are using EMS at the moment, so we're in the process of going through. I'm playing in the sandbox at the moment. So, but I did want to kind of answer your question because I am doing something like that now, and I think
Mm.
if whenever we make a change, I would love to continue doing that, especially because this would be a new system for us. But right now, I meet with like service providers and different people who are using EMS pretty regularly. So we meet bi-weekly just to review events. And then also it's a time for us to talk about like, does anyone have questions or things like that? So I would imagine, especially making a change with a system, that we would continue to do that. And it would allow us to kind of have further conversations about like, what is everyone doing? What can we do different? But I loved hearing that you're doing something like that. I love the war room idea. I might steal that. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it was I don't know whose idea it was, but it was really a good idea. it helped us take a look at features. One of the things that we talked a lot about was our statuses. And then approvals. One of the things we do a really bad job of is using Mazévo has a wonderful tool in the approvals. And I'm sure many of you on the call that already have Mazévo, you probably do it a lot better than we do. We're thinking about those lab space schedulers. We're thinking about using the approval process because right now we're kind of sort of contacting them via email if we get somebody not from their department that's asking to use that lab space. And so that's one of the things that's been on our docket, and it came out of a war room conversation that we had. Is we saw a Mazévo Connect that somebody had done a really good job. I don't know if it was I can't remember what university it was, but they did a really good job of the approval process. Katie Martin, I think, she did a really good job of that. And so we sat there and watched her presentation a number of times, just kind of saying, how could we apply this? And we felt like it could be definitely used in our lab space scheduling process. So still to come. The other thing that we don't do a very good job of yet is there's a bunch of tools in there for production to use, so our operations. So let me pop back out here. So this particular area of the Mazévo toolbox, we're not working. We've toyed with it, but we've got more work to do there. And then the other part that we're really hoping to maybe think about in the future is, we're just doing that academic import now. We're not using the optimizer that Mazévo has. Our registrar's office wasn't ready yet to make that jump. And so we're hoping that down the road that we can maybe look at that. So that would be kind of, if anybody's currently using the optimizer, I'd love to talk with them. I'm always interested in a Mazévo Connect that has somebody showing how they're using it with their operations team. If it, hint, hint, anybody else that wants to give a Mazévo Connect. Any other questions?
Yeah. Deb, there was a question that came in about if you could speak to how many years worth of EMS data you pulled over when you made the switch to Mazévo.
Yes, we pulled 3 years.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we went live in July of 22. Was it really 3 years, or maybe it was 2.5? We took everything from January 1st of 2019 and then forward.
Gotcha.
Is that 3 years? Yeah, I think so.
Yep. So.
And we don't feel like we lost anything, just so you know, that was plenty.
Yeah.
I think we probably could have gotten away with, but that was like, and that was the COVID land, it was 2020. So it was like, okay, we decided, well, let's grab 2019 just because, nothing was real after 2020. So.
Right. Now, did you all keep EMS like going on a server somewhere just in case you needed to get back to that old stuff, or did you just kind of let it go?
We kept it so we went live in July and we kept it running until October. And the reason that we only kept it running until October is because that was when our annual service agreement came due. And so we weren't going to pay for that again. And we've never missed it. I can't think of anything. I mean, Stephanie and Kristen might argue with me on this point, but I can't think of anything that we gave up when we made the transition. And in some ways, I mean, it was just cleaning up your old database. I guess maybe that's just my thing. Maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal for other people, but for me, it was, I liked having everything nice and clean.
Well, I can tell you, we see a lot of data here from people that are making the switch, and the cleanup idea is a popular idea because I think everybody's the same way. You just, over the years, things accumulate. You're not sure why things are in there that are in there, and it's just a good opportunity to look at your data and clean things up. So we do what we can to encourage people to do that because it's an important step for sure. So. Let's see here. Questions. Rochelle from Boise mentioned that they do meet monthly as well with all of their
Oh,
event coordinators and planners and talk through all things related to events, and Mazévo is a piece of that. So,
it's great.
mhm. We've got a question here from Alicia. She's asking, would you be willing to show one of your client emails? She's from UW Milwaukee and wondering about formatability.
Oh, sure. Let's see if they sent one. Sometimes these bigger ones we haven't sent. Nope. Okay, try again. Okay, Stephanie, you may need to help me here. Which one can I find that you sent?
Let me pull something up here.
Just give me a reservation number
Yep,
and I
I
can toss
will.
it in.
Yep, just 1 second. F5037.
That's
And then
just
go
a
to
survey.
history, go to history.
Oh yeah. History. Here?
Nope,
Okay.
down by
Hang
down
on.
by nope, go back to emails, the email
Okay.
tab. There you go. And
Oh yeah,
then
history.
right there, history. There you go.
See, it's very intuitive for people that are actually using it all the time, but not for me. Okay,
Yes.
so and I can bring this up, right?
Oh,
this
actually,
one,
that one doesn't have one. Sorry
yeah.
about that, Deb. Okay, let me
Okay.
see. Sorry. Let me see if you go to
Alicia, are you looking for a confirmation and what it
Yeah.
would look like?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you could
Yep.
just open.
Well, hey, Dean,
Yeah.
mostly it's about, so I'm in one room, but there's like 4 of us in here. We sometimes get super frustrated in how regimented the formatting in emails out of EMS, where like you can only customize certain things. Like if you have, an email status that's hold, or you have an email status for confirmed or whatever, like it's pulling certain things and not pulling other things. And then just like within the body of the text or the body of the message, like what it looks like when it's formatted, because sometimes you can format it, but then you have to go to the different tab to do like a web-based formatting. And so that's what we were curious about, is just how easy is it to format different things, and is it like how regimented is it, and are there like a mail merge type of thing where you can pull certain information, or like just give us a quick and dirty version of like how do you do an email?
Well, I guess when you say email, there's a variety of different emails. So what Deb's doing here is preparing a confirmation.
Uh-oh.
Although it has an error in it, I'm not sure what's going on there. So when you send this, the email body contains a link to this report. It doesn't send this as an attachment or in the body of the email. It sends it as a link to say you want to view your confirmation. What goes in the body of the email is up above here in this text block. You can type in your message, whatever you want to do there, or you can pick it from a canned message. So there's some canned messages that go into the email body. So, and you can kind of mix and match. You could take one of those and customize it. That shows in the body. And for the bookings, I don't know.
The message too, by the way, you can add links in there, color, change the font. All of that is controllable without switching to some web thing or whatever. All of that's right in that toolbar that you're seeing right there. So that's, you just click, like you would in Word or whatever, and just format it.
Yeah.
So all of that can be part of your canned message.
We can send you from our demo system, Alicia, we can send you a couple samples of what an email would look like. So,
That sounds great, Dean. Thanks.
yeah.
other stuff.
Let's see here.
I know, Deb, that you didn't really talk about the operations components in there, and that you haven't really gotten into that too much. Can anyone at if there aren't any other direct questions, is there like just a couple of minutes of like what is entailed in those things?
Brian, do you want to take that?
Sorry, I missed the first part of that. I was reading somebody else's question here. Do you want to
Under Brian, under the operations tab, and
Yeah.
it's got review events, manage operations and
Yeah.
work log. What are those meant to do?
Oh, yeah. So those are an electronic version. If you're using EMS, you probably use something today called the setup worksheet. It's just a printed report, right, for your setup staff. The thinking behind those is it's like, in 2024, do people really still want to be running around with paper all the time? So this is an electronic version of the setup worksheet. So the benefits of doing it 100% electronic are it's always up to date. One, you never have to reprint these things. And two, you can be interactive with it. So we've designed this. Deb's showing it to you right now on the computer, which is where typically like a manager would use it or something like that, where they would monitor, here's all the setups we're doing today. But the other thing that can be done with this is that it's designed to be interactive so that your setup staff can actually get to this on their phone. So it doesn't matter what kind of device, phone, tablet, iPad, whatever, you can pull this up. And then if I'm the one doing the setup, I can mark things off when I've completed the setup or delivered the equipment or done whatever it is I'm supposed to do. And then I, as the manager, if I'm looking at this screen here, I can see which setups are done, which ones are they still working on, and kind of monitor things that way. So it gives you just more interaction than you get with the printed setup worksheets. But that's the whole purpose of the operations, and that's, it's all integrated with everything you're doing in here. And great idea too, Deb, by the way, on doing another Mazévo Connect on the operations. We're actually trying to work on that right now. Tentatively, I'm working on that for February, but we'll see how that pans out. So I will let everybody know once we get that scheduled. So, but
Perfect.
yeah. So
I really want to see that.
yeah, it should be good. Oh, one other thing, last thing I'll mention with the manage operations, you can also assign work to people through it as well. So and not everybody does this, it depends on how you operate there, but you can, if you want to assign things to individuals so that they know when they get to work, they can pull up their list through operations and it's like, okay, here's the stuff I'm working on today. That's also an option with this as well. So. But yeah.
And Deb, do you use the invoicing
Oh yeah.
River Falls?
Oh yeah. It's been a long time since I invoiced though. Science Olympiad would be a good example. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing too here. Let me go back to this one. Go back to this one. So before I invoice this one, I definitely need to change this because what this is that we basically have some internal bookings. So it's an internal and it's also in production internal status. But what I forgot is this is wrong, right, Stephanie? I mean, this is MLK Day. We're not going to charge the customer $135 for having it blocked just because we've got it set up.
That's correct. Yep, that is correct.
So I want to change my pricing here. And I can either do no charge, but I know Kristen likes it better if we do 100% discount. And if my status bar would get out of the way, I can click save.
And Kristen, just to clarify, Kristen likes that 100% discount because then that will show up on the invoice that we have given them 100% discount on the room for that particular day. She likes to have that documentation on the invoice.
So we haven't invoiced, we have not yet invoiced for this particular event yet.
Correct.
But this also remind me, you guys are using it in a batch process, right? Find invoices,
Correct.
so create invoices.
Yep.
So basically we go to University Center Reservations and we pick a date and time and
Yep, that's it. Just search.
that's it. Yeah. Boy, it's been a long time. You guys are doing really good because I don't have to get involved with it anymore. Thank goodness. Oh, it might take a while. Okay, here we go.
Yep. And then if you click the top event total box there,
Where am I?
On the top left of your list of events, click that little box right there. Yep. And then billing worksheet is what we do. We pull to review all of the invoices before we send them out.
So you and Joan kind of go through these.
Yep. To
looking
make sure
for
all the charges are correct and account numbers and all of that. And then Joan is our invoice person. She would then send this invoice out to the customer,
Don't
either
hit that.
asking.
Don't hit the generate.
Yeah.
No. If
Joan
she
will
was
get
ready,
mad.
Joan would get mad.
She would. Yep.
Yes,
So.
she would get mad. But and when we set up Mazévo, we did separate things out to, we have department services versus department academics. We have different customers that'll be conference and event services because we do have off-campus customers that we serve. And then we have on-campus customers. So if you do need to filter and sort, you can always do that here. Does that help with the invoicing part of it?
Yeah, that was good.
One of the things I was playing around with was the dashboard. I was playing around, but what I've realized is like, I think this would be really a lot more useful. One of the things with fake rooms is that it causes a little bit of a problem with our data, but this is just a really cool dashboard that I still haven't figured out how to use very much yet, but I'm hoping to spend some time with that. But I think it's a cool tool.
Thanks for bringing that up. This is that was kind of cut one of our dashboard. So we put that in there last year and wanted to get that out there and get feedback from people. So yeah, any feedback you have on it, what would make it more useful? What do you like? What do you not like about it? Those kinds of things. We want to gather that because we definitely have plans to continue to work on that and continue to enhance. So
yeah. Stephanie, I don't know if you've been using much of this because I know that you're pulling data for some of the reports and stuff that we're now gathering to tell our story better. Do you have different dashboards than I do?
I have not worked with this as much. I tend to steer toward find events and gather my data that way, the old-fashioned way.
And by the way, I love find events. You can find almost everything you really want here. And I love the fact, thank you very much, Dean, for banking it so that I can subscribe people to this. That was kudos. That changed my life. So thank you for making subscribe available to find events reports. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And then of course there's all these other reports. Oh my gosh, reports are us. It's so fascinating. And did I mention about subscribe over here? Like you can force people to get a link to have this report, and it's a link. It's not an actual report. It's a link. So every single time they push the same link, they'll get a fresh report. So like that's bloody brilliant, I think. I'm running out of time here though. I gotta shut up, right?
No, this is great. Yeah, we are running out close to our time though. So any last questions, get them in or send them to us afterwards. We'll try our best to answer them there. But but yeah, this has been great, Deb. This is a great tour of your system here. And I also really appreciate everybody's participation today. These questions have been really, really good, and we've had some good dialogue here. So it's been great as well. So, but yeah, so I think we're about at our time. I don't see any other questions rolling in here. So Deb, thank you so much. This has been amazing. So good stuff. Those of you on the call, I will be sending out a recording probably early next week. So look for that. And anybody that didn't make it today, they'll get the recording as well, as long as they signed up for it. I'll also get it posted to our website at some point as well later. But anyways, thank you again. And thanks everybody for participating. I will get something out in the next week or two about our next Mazévo Connect scheduled for the end of February. And we'll get that going. So until next time, thanks everyone. And we'll talk again soon, hopefully.
Thank you.